For the first time ever, this year's Labour Party conference opened with a rendition of the national anthem.
God save our gracious King, long live our noble King. God save the King. Send him victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us. God save the King.
So journalists in the room tweeted, "This is transformational." No one heckled the national anthem. It was supposed to show that Starmer had done some real good work with the Labour Party. So there was no disquiet or no vocalised disquiet in the room. That doesn't mean the decision wasn't divisive. This is what Jeremy Corbyn told the BBC's Nick Robinson before the conference took place.
Very odd. Very, very odd. It's never, ever happened at a Labour conference since the conferences were first held at the time of the First World War. I find it peculiar and not really necessary. I mean, the conference is there, hopefully, for a democratic expression of party members' views, to discuss policies and so on. I just find it rather odd.
Odd why, though?
Well, we've never done it before. There's never been any demand to do it. We don't, as a country, routinely go around singing the national anthem at every single event we go to. We don't sing it in schools. We don't have the raising of the flag in schools, as they do in the USA and other places. We are not that sort of what I would call excessively nationalist, and I don't see the point or the need for it.
Aaron, who's right on singing the national anthem at Labour Party conference, Keir Starmer or Jeremy Corbyn?
That's a very interesting way of phrasing it, Michael. I mean, of course, Jeremy Corbyn is right in so much as, this hasn't happened for a century, but it's not a moral question. I suppose Keir Starmer is the leader of the Labour Party. Let's try and look at it from his perspective. He's the leader of the Labour Party. The monarch's just died, and he also wants to rebut claims that Labour is insufficiently patriotic. Well, politically, it's therefore expedient, but also he would say it's the right thing, because, of course, the monarch has died, to have the national anthem. I thought it was interesting that you had somebody singing it, because, of course, if you didn't have somebody singing it and it was being sung by the crowds, then, of course, the cameras would go around. It might not be particularly loud. Some people might not even open their mouths. Interesting, Michael, Gary Neville is talking to Keir Starmer today at Labour conference. When Gary Neville played for England, he never sung the national anthem. Same with Paul Scholes. It was often a thing that was sort of laid at the feet of England players, particularly those at Man United. And Gary Neville said, actually, the one time the FA wanted a conversation with him, this is a guy that got 70 caps, probably the best right back of his generation, was because he wasn't singing the national anthem. This idea that, we have to all sing it. If you don't, then, my God, you're not allowed in respectable company. Plainly not true. So Starmer would have that claim. Clearly, Jeremy Corbyn, I think, has another claim. So in a way, they're both right. I mean, I can see the argument for it being politically expedient. Jeremy Corbyn is also correct that it's peculiar in the historical context. I think Jeremy Corbyn is being somewhat unfair in so much as these are extenuating circumstances. The Queen just passed away. She's been the monarch for 70 years. If this became an annual thing, yeah, I think that is strange. I do think it is odd.
I don't like the song God Save the King, but it's not for me anyway. Keir Starmer isn't doing it for me. So, and not everything has to be for me. If the Labour Party were to compromise on economic policy or whether or not to wave the flag, I would say go radical with the economic policy and wave the flag. Now, my critique of Keir Starmer is that, the economic policy isn't quite radical enough to justify waving the flag. I don't have a problem with them going overboard to say, look, we are a patriotic party and we like the Queen, because if it's not your priority to get rid of the monarch, you might as well go the whole hog and say I'm a monarchist. Obviously, I don't have to do that because I'm a journalist, not a politician, and I can just tell you the truth. But Keir Starmer does, he is trying to get elected. Politics is different to journalism. So I feel fairly relaxed about it. I know other people disagree. I want to play something which is relevant, and I think it was very articulately expressed. This was Mick Lynch on the Novara Media panel on the Saturday, and he's answering slightly what's a different but related question, let's say. So he was asked why the RMT cancelled a strike in the wake of the Queen dying. Talk about why the RMT made that decision to cancel that strike.
We do it for a number of reasons. There are many people in our working class communities, that are socially conservative, that come from religious backgrounds, are new to the country, or just don't dig everything that people in here might dig. We've got to move the whole working class forward together. So we need to go into mosques, we need to go into temples, synagogues, churches. We need to reach into those places. All those people used to vote Labour. My parents were observant, strict Roman Catholic people from Ireland. My dad was also a militant shop steward. The two things are not different, you know, and we need to move everyone forward together. So we cancelled the strikes because many of our members would want to do that. I'm a Republican. I come from a very Republican background, as it happens, not just in the technical sense, but in the sense that you'd say in Ireland. But I understand that people want to show their respects to the Queen. I don't see a problem in that. That's the society in which I live. I don't just go around poking people in the eye because I think it's funny. What's the point of that? Many of my members who work on the railway might have come from military backgrounds, for instance. There's always been a connection between that environment and coming onto the railway because it's a regimented and strict, rule-based industry. I don't want to go around upsetting our people, and our people absolutely supported it. Just be discreet. Keep quiet for a couple of weeks about these issues. And this stuff that was said, I mean, this is why, I've never been in a faction in politically. I hate these newspapers that people brandish. I just think they turn everyone off politics. The socialism in this country is not going to be won by an ideology-based party. It's going to be won through pragmatic reform of our system. Some of that should be as bold as it can be, and I think there's a massive class element to it. But stuff like that is just going to turn everyone off. That's why the unions need to be in the lead for a period, showing that it's working people, real men and women around this country that want change. And the final bit, I'll let you in, John, sorry. No. Everyone has to push Keir Starmer, and he expects it. So John's groups and factions, they're going to be prodding Keir, saying, don't do that, don't give in, or go that way. That's what democracy is. We've all got to push him.
That conversation was in response to a question from the audience. So it's someone who'd been selling a revolutionary left-wing newspaper who had a go at Novara Media for apparently praising the Queen too much. I don't remember doing it myself. And then also critiqued the RMT for cancelling the strike, in case you're wondering what Mick was referring to in the middle of that clip. Aaron, I want your take on Mick Lynch's intervention there. And does it have anything to do with Keir Starmer singing the national anthem, I suppose I should add?
Yeah, I think it does have something to do with it because we're talking about what are the appropriate tactics on the left if you're trying to change things. That's true whether you're a monarchist, but you don't really care so much as to sing the national anthem. That's a lot of people. That's true if you're a Republican. Importantly, Michael, they didn't cancel the strike because they're still doing the strike. You know, the strikes, I think, on the 1st and the 2nd. They pushed it back and they didn't create a political stink. I don't really understand what people thought they should do, realistically. The head of state died. Now, I know that's kind of like an occupational hazard with a monarchy because you change head of state when the head of state dies. It's not like with a presidency, you know, it's with JFK assassination or something. Obviously, it's far rarer. But the head of state's passed away. I really do sympathize with what he's saying. And it's interesting, Michael, that, you know, two organizations on the left, which would be viewed as very radical, Sinn Féin and the RMT, have actually, I think, had a really nuanced, popular position on this. And they've won respect from their enemies. And what have they lost by doing it? What has the RMT lost? They still go on strike for 2 days. They still deprive, you know, the rail operators of money. What have they lost? Have Sinn Féin lost voters? No. They've got goodwill from people who otherwise wouldn't like them. That's politics. It's smart. Like you say, Michael, we're not the ones they need to impress. I'm a Republican. Anytime I'm asked about this stuff, anytime, TV, radio, book festivals, I literally start the conversation by saying, I'm a Republican. I don't think we should be a monarchy. I think as a political system, it's infantile. Of course. But if you're saying, well, the Labour Party needs to put, you know, republicanism above public ownership, above increasing the minimum wage, above decarbonisation, I would have to disagree with you. And then, of course, somebody might say, well, it's not on either or. Well, politics is about priorities, actually. So, yes, to an extent, it is.